Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Truett Vaigneur from Disabilities Redefined in Manhattan. I support the Keith Andrew Network for the entertainment value, for the strong and positive messages his show brings. And on top of everything else, he is just a true entertainer and a great friend. Watch it.
Gentlemen, you're watching the one and only Keith Andrew Network. Today, it is episode 657. That is right, the one and only 657. Today, I'm here with a good friend of mine, Truett Vaigneur. I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Oh, thank you, Keith. And also, Keith, good to see you again. The last time we spoke, you were actually at my studio in Manhattan. We had a great day there. We enjoyed you. Everybody loved having you on set. The techs, the camera guy, from the guy who sweeps the floor to the one on top. It was a great. Or they're all on top there because it's a great place to work. But we were very happy you came, and yeah, welcome back anytime. I would love to have you back.
No, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. As soon as this damn Corona thing's over, I'll put it on my things to do list.
Well, let me
But
tell
it's kind of funny you should mention the tech guys. They said they were going to follow me, but they never did. So, hey, I'm not holding any grudges
they said they were gonna follow
on
you.
Instagram, but they never did.
Listen, Keith, if I held a grudge every time I met somebody and they say, "Oh, I'm going to follow you," or "Oh, I'm going to look you up," or "Oh, I'm going to have you on our show," I would not have any friends at all. Yeah. So,
Hey, water under the bridge, right?
well, you have a great show, and I hope people will follow you. And we love, again, I know they liked you, so it's just probably just the oversight. People get busy with life.
No,
Getting back to what you
absolutely.
said earlier, as soon as I've been on quite a few talk shows during the corona pandemic, and a lot of people are already asking, do you think that there are going to be some career changes? Do you think that there are going to be people going back to school? Do you think that, even in relationships, do you think this is going to make relationships stronger? Or you think it's going to finally, be the thing that's going to make two unhappy people um, separate? And I think all of the above, and I hope everything that happens after Corona will be something very, very positive. I know that you interview a lot of actors and models. I know you interview a variety of people, politicians, wrestlers, educators, but I do see quite, because I do follow your show, and I do see a lot of actors from various parts of the country, and I love that because it's motivating. But what I really hope, as far as a lot of people in your network and people that watch your show, which is kind of a showbiz type show, that this will motivate them to make that move, to LA or New York, or to some metropolitan city when this is over, and really begin to pursue their dreams, because we've seen what it's like to have your dreams stop for a while. And when this is over, I hope that everybody out there will go back, especially people who are creative, will get back in there and get those creative energies going. And the reason why I'm telling you this, to make a long story even more longer and treacherous, is because the other day I was walking my little dog, and we just snuck off, and I had on my mask, and I said, Jagger, let's just go and see the city and a new part. And we ended up in Broadway, and I realized just how much creativity and the art scene means to New York. And as you know, I'm a retired model actor, and I loved every minute of it. but I want this to be over because of numerous reasons, but I also want it to be over to bring some life and culture back to the city. Okay, so yeah, I'm glad I got that off my shoulders. Shoo!
Yeah,
It's been,
you bring up a good point. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the corona disease going around or the Chinese flu, whatever you want to call it, to be politically correct. But it's uncensored freedom of speech, self expression. Keep in mind, PG 13. So
oh yes,
keep,
yes. I'm a
keep
children's
that in
book
mind.
now, so
But, the people are just idiots or assholes because I tell you why the people are idiots or assholes. They say, do not go into small groups. One, keep 6 feet apart. Two, all right, so I'm part of this group called Monroe Matters. And there's an ice cream place. I don't remember. It used to be called the Free Bears, but it's called something else now. I think it's like Wally's ice cream or whatever. But there were people not 6 feet apart, but right next to each other in line, and they're like, there's a pandemic going on. Yes. And you're supposed to be 6 feet apart. Yes. And you're supposed to be home. Yes. But you're here buying ice cream. And then their response like, oh, it's a nice day, and I wanted my kid to buy ice cream. Well, then that's fine and everything, but you could have gone to the supermarket and buy some ice cream. And I mean, I'm not making excuses. And the other reason I brought up is people. I live near the drinking water. It's a lake, but Chester uses it for their drinking water, and there were people gathering over there. Well, that didn't go over well because you can imagine what showed up next.
oh no, what
You
happened?
want me to tell you, or you want to take a guess?
I do not want to take a guess at that. No, what happened?
The National Guard.
Oh
So
no.
they came up with a military tank, not military tank, a Hummer, and the guy was the army, the whole thing. And it's like, yeah, lake's closed. So they put the stone barriers in there. And it's kind of like, it kind of feels like Nazi Germany in a way because you can't do this, you can't do that. And I understand, people are comparing this to 9/11, people are dying on a big scale because this is kind of like war, but you're fighting a invisible enemy. And so it is a rough period of time about what we're going through. And I understand you want, like you were talking about, you want the Broadway. And I know you said you want how the art, it's very important. And I want things to go back to work. I actually had to put my 2 weeks in because I'm no longer on my job. For people out there, I used to work over at Walmart, but I felt unsafe over there. So I put my 2 weeks in. So now I'm unemployed. I did not want to put my 2 weeks in, even though I didn't want to work there for the rest of my life, but that's besides the point. But I liked what I do. I like interacting with people. I like having a routine. I like being sociable. And you say, will things go back to normal? Me and my dad were saying, no, things will change. The song 2525. Um, you know, it's a great song, by the way. I would tell you, recommend it for people out there. Listen to the song 2525. It's the year 2525. That song came out like in the 60s and the 70s, but it's really good. And people say, people are gonna stay home, they're gonna shop at home, you're gonna have food delivered at home, you're not gonna leave the house. For me, as long as I get to do my talk show, I'm happy. But my father's miserable. He's climbing up the freaking wall because he wants to go out. He does not like to be home whatsoever. Of course, I don't make things better because I don't shut up. But he it's a different generation. I keep telling my dad to write a book, you get a hobby. He says, I can't do that or I won't do that. So I guess it's a generation thing. But for me, and then I'll pass the show over to you, is as long as I get to do my talk show, and a quick funny story about that. I'm happy. And you have a roof over your head, you have power, you have food. While I was networking with people on LinkedIn, people are like, this is a epidemic that we're going through. I said, yes. And I suddenly paused, said, but do you want to be a guest on my talk show? And the guy yelled at me. It's like, dude, we're panicking, there are people dying, and you want to talk about your stupid ass talk show? It's like, yes, because it's an escape. It helps you escape from reality for whatever 20, 25 minutes. It gives you an outlet.
Yes.
So he says to me, are you aware there's an epidemic, whatever?
Pandemic.
And I said, yes. And there's that. He said, no, 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 there's no and that. That's it. So pretty much he didn't want to be a guest. But passing the show over to you to answer your question about this whole thing. I want things to go back to normal. People say it's going to take a year until there's like medicine and a vaccine. Unfortunately, this is going to be the new normal for a while. And yeah, I was hoping, people were joking about that, but hey, as long as, and not to sound like an asshole or anything, but as long as I get to do my show and I have something to focus on, it all what matters. But like you said, you want to go out, you want to have that human interaction. But this whole thing about the corona disease, it's going to change everything. And you said maybe if people will get stronger, and either relationships will get stronger. The scary part is we really don't know what the end result is of all this is going to be. Passing the show over to you.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I mean, and it is very important, Keith. You are a very good example of someone who loves what they do. And, as you say, and I think it's also important for us to, while realizing that there is a pandemic and the seriousness of what's going on, and do not create all these silly memes going on about it because people are losing their lives, and making jokes because people are losing their lives, but also to enjoy what we like to do. And again, as I stated, I've been on a few talk shows during this time. I have my show here in Manhattan. I know quite a few producers here. Manhattan is a city and a place all of its own. There's so many shows here in Manhattan that don't go out of Manhattan, and quite a few. And so we all know each other and we all talk. And I've been on, I think this will be my third show in about 2 weeks, where I've actually been speaking about careers. Now, the name of my show is Disabilities Redefined with Dr. Vaigneur. That's me, although most people do call me Truett. But at the end of the day, I do work very closely with the disabled population. This is my second career. My first career, as you know, was a model actor. But at the end of the day, I've said it from day one. Someone asks, what should happen? I'm having issues now. The talk show, she said a friend of hers was having issues with eating too much. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how you could categorize eating too much at a time like this. Listen, we're stuck home. If you want to eat a few extra candy bars, eat it. That's the least of our worry. Do what you want to do. Watch a soap opera, watch a silly, don't be all, bothered about the diet and, the intellectualism going on. Whatever you can do to make yourself happy right now, do it. And so yes, I can completely agree. Your talk show is what you should be focused on. And I'm very happy to be here and to answer any questions about whatever you wanted to ask me.
You did mention you were on a couple of shows. And for our viewers who are wondering, or me who was wondering too, what interviews have you been on?
Well, within the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, MNN, we are all producers, and most producers actually have their own talk shows. So I've been on shows that are, because Manhattan Neighborhood Network is closed. So some of the producers are actually putting together little clips to put on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network social media. as well as because the shows that they're showing now are older shows. They're just putting them in repeat, but they are going to start showing snippets, and we don't know what that's going to lead to. I have a few ideas myself. I do a lot of fashion stuff because that was my first line of work. I do like fashion shows with models who are disabled. I do a lot of photo sessions with models who are disabled. We have a beautiful show with Alex Garza coming up that we finished before the pandemic. That we just didn't have time to edit and put together. I mean, it's nearly edited. We have about another hour left to edit. And as soon as we get back in the studio, that one will go out. Before that, we did a great show with Megan Elizabeth, who's an educator. So we do a lot of fashion shows and photo sessions on the show. But that's not it. We also talk to anybody who is interesting and successful and just an interesting person that just happens to be disabled. So, hey, it'll all come back together in one capacity or another. Of course, things are going to change, but hopefully things will get back. And if we've learned that we can do a show like you, who does it online, then we can do it online. That's not a big, that's not a problem for me. I don't know how to do your show. I always go to the studio and use the bigger, and get the tech guys and everything. But I would love to learn this. Now, Keith, back in the day, now this is kind of relates to what we're talking about. When I was young and first got to New York City, I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina. And I went into Europe first. I went into England, and then I was in Italy for a short time, and then I was in Paris for a short time, back and forth from England. When I first came to New York City, and I'm 51, I'm looking all scruffy today. I might look a little older than 51 today, but when I'm all cleaned up, maybe I might look a little younger. But at the end of the day, I'm 51, and what happens is that when I first got to New York, I was in my early 20s because I left the South in my teens, went into Europe, and came to New York. This internet, this emailing, that did not exist. So I quickly found an agent and got to work. We had to walk around with our portfolios from one go-see to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, and we would see, and I also did a lot of background stuff, background work, and then it seemed like I didn't do very well when I first started. So I went back to school, got my first degree in creative writing education. When I graduated, I was in my early 30s, and then my career really picked up. But even at that time, emailing and the laptops and how it's got so refined with Zoom and all of this, that was nowhere around. Listen, I did my first degree and my second degree without owning a computer. Now, between my first degree, when I went back to school, and my second degree, I had a period there in my early 30s, from like 31 to 34. I modeled and acted nonstop. I actually earned my back then we called it the SAG, Screen Actors Guild called. Now I think it's something like SAG-AFTRA. I'm a member, but that was after my time when they joined. SAG-AFTRA is now one. It's been that way for a long time. But I haven't done any, modeling or acting in years and years and years. But when I joined, when I earned my SAG card, it was just SAG, and AFTRA was AFTRA, and equity was equity, and everything was its own little unit, own little company, own little union. But I did quite well at that time period, and again, we would see each other walking around Broadway. We would see each other walking, downtown to the go-sees and everything, and there'd be a cluster on one side of the street, a cluster on the other. We would wave to each other. And then it's funny because then years later, after I had finished my doctorate, I put together a short film with a disabled character, because again, everything I do is for the advancement of the disabled population. And at that time, I physically met face to face with all of the actors because I had already seen reels of them. And we met because I had already seen their reels, because they sent their reels over to me whenever I produced. And that was a SAG movie. So I was lucky because I was already in SAG. So that movie was under the SAG after we got to use a SAG after logo at the end of the movie. But I was shocked at how much the business had changed from the time I left in my mid 30s to at this time now, with me producing my own, short film with a SAG again, Screen Actors Guild AFTRA, in my late 40s. For example, the actors I worked with, they said that they didn't even have to show up for the auditions. They could just make a reel and send it in. That was something I would never dream when I was the idea of doing something, on the computer, clicking a button and sending it to a casting off. That was so alien. That was, something that was we just didn't do it that way. You showed up, you shook hands with the person, then you did your little monologue or whatever. I had them read, whatever. And then that's the way it worked. Or you stood there and they took a Polaroid and threw it on the table with 1,000 other actors, depending on whether you were going out as an actor or going out, as a model. But things will change and morph because of this pandemic, and this is why I go full circle back to what I said earlier. I also hope, along with the changes, that it will also motivate people to pursue that if that's what they want to pursue.
No, absolutely. I agree. Now, let's take a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about how you started your acting career and your television show when we come back.
I'm Michelle Doherty.
Hey, I'm Laura Menino.
Hi, I'm Deborah Jensen.
I'm Linda Collins.
Hi, I'm Marissa Joy Davis.
This is Michelle Wong.
I'm Nancy Rose.
My name is Brandy Hunt. And
hello, my name is Raven Wynn.
Hi there, my name is Giovanna Vidal.
Hi, I'm Monica Thomas.
Hi, I'm Paisley Blackburn.
I'm Ashley Burgess.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Abney.
Hi, I'm Sharon Spank.
Hey, this is Samantha Moore.
Hi, I'm Melody Jones.
Hi, my name is Becky Yee.
Hi, you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keith Andrew Network. This is episode 657. I'm here with Truett Vaigneur. Now, with the last couple of minutes, I'm going to ask you about your talk show, your child's book, and go back to your acting career and modeling. So the first question I was going to ask you is, who influenced you to create your own talk show, and how many years have you been a talk show host?
I think I've been a talk show host for like 3 years now. The show's done very well. We get a very good response throughout the world, really. It's funny because when I started this show, I thought it would be kind of like an MTV kind of show for disabled college students, and I wanted to tap into that. But what really happened is that I get more response from parents asking, advice on their kids going off to college and the whole 9 yards. What happened is that I finished my doctorate degree. And I got a book deal, a scholarship. And about halfway through, I realized that this is just not creative enough for me. It was great while I was in school, and I do like to research and I do like to write, but scholarly writing is tough. And I had always had a problem with it. The higher I got up the academic chain, the more difficult it was for me to write because I would want to get too creative. And, they did appreciate my, flair for the entertainment value. But at the end of the day, that's not scholarship. So I remember we had a big meeting one time because I did do my doctorate at Long Island University. We had a big meeting because they were concerned that my career was going to be too involved with pop culture as opposed to, the academic side of things. I was actually doing a documentary even then to coincide with my dissertation, which dealt with identity development within the LGBTQ population on campus and sports and athletes. So when I finished my dissertation and became a doctor, I sent it out to quite a few publication companies, and a few wrote back, and I narrowed it down to 2, and then I picked one. And then about 2 weeks before it went out into review, my editor quit. So then it was thrown on another editor's desk, and the reviews came back, and they were not great at all, by no means, because again, it was that I was just too colorful and, hard to follow, and, it was more like a novel, and you name it, it was the problem with it. This editor didn't want to fight for it, and why should they? Because it was not their book, they had only known me for 2 weeks and the book for 2 weeks. So we decided we would just cool it, and I was like, shoo, I'm done. And that is when I wanted to get back into media. I wanted to get back into media because I had all this, experience in front of the camera when I was younger. There was a time in my early 20s when I had done some modeling, and then in my mid-20s, I went back to school and graduated at 30. And then from, in my early 30s to my mid-30s, I also had done some modeling and acting was quite successful. So I did have a resume in front of the camera. And I thought that, a talk show, I'd always wanted to be a talk show. I always loved it. We spoke about that when you were on my show. I'd always loved the night talk show lineup, Johnny Carson, Joan Rivers, and I thought it would be great. So I just made a few calls, and some people put me in touch with the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And that's where I started doing the show. And then it's been great. It took about a year for me to really fine tune it. Our first shows are a little wobbly. They're, a little messy. But we fine-tuned it, and now we've got a very good system. It does very well here in Manhattan. And so I'm very, very happy with it. I'm still trying to, get a reality show going. I still produce documentaries on the side that do go out, and people get in touch with me about them. I do not do this to make money, because I do work in the university level. I teach psychology and I counsel disabled students. So everything I do is, again, like I say, for the advancement of the disabled population. And I love that. I'm an example of someone who really likes their job. And along with the talk show, I've also started writing children's books. And that is another great thing that I've done since I've, left the scholarship alone. I want to do, as I leave and go into my great years now, into my 50s and 60s and retire, I do want to spend the rest of my time working and being very creative and being very colorful and reaching more people, that way, as opposed to the more strict and stifling, for me, academic work. Now, that work has got its place. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not going to say I wouldn't go back to school and just take a course here and there just to learn, because I love to learn and I'm a very good student. But at the end of the day, I do want to, as I get into my great years now, go back to the creative side of things. As I said earlier, the arts, creativity, that's more or less how I want to spend, my working days now.
No, absolutely. And hey, if you're ever interested, maybe we can do a documentary about me.
That would be a Netflix sensation. Yes, or a YouTube sensation. Yes, whatever we could put it on, I think it would be a great show. Yes.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But before we do that, I'm very curious about the book that you showed me off the air. What is the purpose of your child's book? And is it one of the best sellers?
Well, it did okay. It was not a bestseller. I don't know if there is such a thing as a bestseller for a children's book. I don't know if the Times rates a children's book as a bestseller. But no, what it was one of our guests earlier on when we first started. She was actually a paraplegic. She was a swimmer. So I wrote and created a character based loosely on her. And it is a wonderful book. It's done quite well. And it is called Aqua Blue, Visions of a Swimmer. And I keep copies with me. And it just tells the story of, and this is the actual star in the book. It tells the story of a young girl who is a swimmer. She goes through an operation, then she becomes paraplegic in a wheelchair, and then she continues to swim because that's what she loves to do. And she has an identity as a swimmer over that of being disabled. And that is the reason why I love being a career counselor for the disabled population, because it gives them the opportunity and the option to choose a career to where that can be their identity, whether it's an actor or a talk show host or a model or a corporate business executive, an educator, any of the above. I love that, and it puts their identity in that position, that social position, as opposed to people looking at them and stating, you're disabled, you've got to stay home. No. That is old school. We no longer think that way.
Well, some people anyway.
Well, we don't. No, on my talk show, we don't. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I do want to give a shout out to Zoom. Yeah, we're wrapping up our show. Is for people who saw, and you saw my past episodes, do a quick highlight. When people see season 1, 2, and 3, I did not want to be seen. I mentioned this on the show. I did not want to be seen. So whatever the camera picked up is that maybe I can show you without it. Okay, there you go. What you saw and you see on reflection, that's season 1. Then season 2, actually 1, 2, and 3, it's pretty much this. Then someone said to my brother, "Oh, we came across your brother's show. Pretty interesting. Why is he hiding though? Why is he in a small screen?" And I said, "I don't want to be seen." And well, if you want to do this for the rest of your life, you have to be seen. You can't hide. So, so I was about 13, 14, 15, or late 15 going to 16. I cut it in half. I got Skype. I got something called Ecamm, ECAMM. You can pay it, it's like $40, and you can record your Skype calls. And you can have it remote, goes to me, goes to you, even though that's a big pain in the ass. Or you can have split screen. So as a way, you're my second guest to be on the brand new format. Originally, it's split screen. I'm on the right, you're on the left. Now I wanted to prove to someone that they didn't know what they were talking about. So I downloaded Zoom yesterday. And I said, okay, I make you a bet. It's going to work my way. No, you have to pay for it. It will work my way. We'll see if I'm actually right for my ones. So you're my second episode. And now I have a professional background. It cuts back and forth. So you see a process for 6.5 years going to 7. From the phone, from the camera, from the split screen to actually now having a professional background. And I can make anything in the background. Like I'm on the beach. I can make it like special effects in the background. And the good news, don't need a screen. You just go to download Zoom, go to virtual background. There you go. That's free. However, if you want to add multiple people to Zoom, yes, you have to pay. But I'm not going to do like hundreds of people on this thing. So it's kind of relevant. Serves its purpose for what I need. So pretty much, I didn't want to do this from the very beginning because you wouldn't have seen a big process. So I dragged my feet with it. So the phone, the camera, the split screen, to having permission forms, to not having permission forms. I'm doing everything I can at a 5th grade level. But what I'm showing you, not even with a bachelor's degree, I'm showing you that look at what you're able to accomplish. My brother said to me, and I think I said this on the show, I went to college and I have a BA in broadcasting and something else. I think it was like broadcasting, and I can't get a job. But yet, you have Keith here, never went to college, who's retarded, reads and learns at a 5th grade level, and he did over officially 657 people, thanks to you, officially 657 people, from actors, actresses, models, CEOs, professional wrestlers, people with learning disabilities, people without disabilities. I'm showing you, look at what I can do. And so I don't need anything special like a college degree or, it would be nice to have. Mm-hmm. But I made a statement saying, my hands are tied, but I'm going to show you #break the labels. Look at what I'm able to accomplish on my own. And I was saying to my father earlier, knock on wood, I want to do this to the day I die. And he says, what happens if it doesn't work? Well, I guess I'm going to work in retail until the day I die. But I'm going to show you, look at, if you have the heart and passion for it, you can accomplish anything.
Well, I think it is working. And I think it's working, as you just said, you're doing the best you can do for what you've got. And so it is working. So I kind of again, as I get older, I kind of live in the moment. So right now it is working. And I think that's just, the best thing we can do. Live in the moment. You're having a great time. You get great guests and you network. So I think just keep doing what you're doing and see what happens, right? Yeah.
No, absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But the first thing I want to ask you is, how can people follow you on social media? Are you on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn?
I'm on Twitter. My name, Truett Vaigneur, Truett Lee Vaigneur Jr. TRU. Spell the word true. Spell the word true. Put 2 T's at the end. And Vaigneur, Vaigneur. Instagram is the talk show, Disabilities Redefined with Dr. Vaigneur. That is the name of my Instagram account. That is also the name of I do have a Facebook page for this talk show, but to be honest, most of my Facebook traffic goes to my personal account, which again is my name. But I do have 2 Facebook accounts. One of our pages, however you say it, you kids say whatever this is out of social media. I do have Disabilities Redefined with Dr. Vaigneur, Facebook, and then I have mine, Truett Lee Vaigneur Jr., my account. And then that's really it. I do have a website that is under Wix that I am now in the middle of getting my own, how do you say it, Keith, URL without the Wix. Yes, I'm speaking to them this upcoming week because it's a beautiful website, very simple, and we're highlighting all of our guests. But I just haven't really done that. But that is on the calendar for this upcoming week to give Wix a call and do that and get a URL. So I don't really want to promote that just yet. And then I'm also working on my second book, and a lot of things going on at the TV studio. A lot of things as far as upcoming guests with the talk show, and another documentary coming up. So yeah, well, I'm busy. I'm very busy.
No, absolutely. Now, I know a year ago, actually, I was a guest on your show. Mm-hmm. And now you're a guest on my show. After being a guest on my show, what is your honest opinion? How do you feel? And do you think that I have a bright future? You can say anything you want.
Well, Keith, I think your most outstanding quality is that you have found what you like to do. As a career counselor, I always tell my students, there is no real hidden agenda. There is no secret to counseling. That when you like doing something, you're always going to be good at doing that because you're going to want to do it. When you don't like your job, you don't want to do it. It's just like a food. You don't want to eat a food you don't like. You don't want to go to a movie genre, comedy, if you don't like comedy. You want to go to horror. You don't want to be around people that you don't like. Let's be brutal. Let's be honest with that. So at the end of the day, to do something that you like to do, you're going to want to do it. So that's what I said earlier as far as measuring success. I no longer really do that. I just think that whatever you can do that you like to do, whether it is as we're doing now in Zoom, whether it is on a talk show studio like here in Manhattan, or whether it is traveling around with a small camera that also produces great work like what we do. Whatever you like to do and want to do, if you can do that, then you are going to be successful because you're already successful because you're doing what you enjoy.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest. I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. For our listeners, make sure to subscribe to both our channels and go to youtube.com, type in KeithAndrewNetwork.com, so you'll be notified when brand new episodes will be available. And I just want to say thank you and a happy Easter to everyone out there.